All right, let's get right into it. For years, maybe decades, quants have been on this almost mythical quest, right? To find a signal, a single reliable signal that can warn you of a market crash before it actually happens. It's like hunting for a ghost in the machine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? For any of us. Some kind of financial weather report that says, hurricane is coming, time to take cover. But does that even exist?
Whoa. Okay, so look at this. You've got the market price just cruising along in blue, and then there's this crazy spiky red line. It just goes ballistic right before the big financial crisis and a few other huge drops. Is that what you're talking about? Is that the phantom signal? That is exactly what we're talking about. And today we're going on a bit of a detective mission to unmask it. We're going to follow the clues, look at some of the most powerful statistical tools out there, and figure out not just what this signal is, but why it works so darn well. I love it. A detective mission. So lay it out for me. What's the plan? How do we crack this case?
Good question. Here's our game plan. First, we'll ask if it's even possible to find a signal before the storm. That's going to lead us to hunting for something called market breaks. Then, we'll go deeper, into the market's hidden DNA. That's where we'll finally unmask our mystery signal. After that, it's time for a showdown to see which clues hold up. And finally, we'll put it all together to build your very own regime detector for the future.
All right, step one of the investigation. Let's start with the most obvious piece of evidence, the price chart itself. Everybody feels like they can spot a bubble just by looking at it, right? But can we prove it with math? Is there some kind of statistical fingerprint, a moment of explosiveness that gives the game away before everything blows up? So some of the earliest attempts used a tool called the CUSUM test. The idea behind it was pretty simple, You track the cumulative sum of your forecast errors. If that sum starts wandering too far away from zero, hey, something's different. A break might be happening. Hang on, though. The flaw here seems huge. It says it's super sensitive to where you start counting. How is that useful? The market didn't just start on January 1st of some random year.
You hit the nail on the head. That's not just a flaw, it's a fatal one. It's a neat idea on a whiteboard, but in the real, messy, dynamic world of markets, it just completely falls apart. We need something way, way more robust.
And you don't have to take my word for it. This quote from Phillips, Wu, and Yu is legendary. They basically said, look, everyone, the standard tools you're using are just plain wrong for this job. It's like trying to use a ruler to weigh something. These tests just can't tell the difference between a market that's just kind of bouncing around randomly and one that's secretly inflating into a massive bubble that's getting ready to pop. We need a purpose-built bubble hunter. And that brings us to our first really solid clue in this case, the Supremium Augmented Dickey-Fuller Test. Let's just call it SADF. This is our specialized bubble hunter, and it's brilliant because it fixes that exact problem we just talked about. Instead of you picking one arbitrary start date, SADF is a machine that just runs the test over and over again on every possible window of time. It's built from the ground up to find that explosive, bubble-like behavior, no matter when it starts or how long it lasts. Okay, so SADF is a huge step forward for analyzing the price. But the price is just the symptom, right? It's the final result of millions of buys and sells. What if the real clues, the truly early warnings, aren't in the price itself, but in the market's hidden DNA? I'm talking about market microstructure, the actual story being told by the flow of every single trade. Okay, so you're saying we need to go deeper. Walk me through it. How did we get better at reading this market DNA?
Well, it really happened in 3 stages or generations. The first gen stuff, back in the 80s, was pretty basic, mostly just looking at sequences of prices. Then the second generation got a lot more interesting. We started seeing models trying to measure the price impact of trades. The big names here are Kyle's lambda and Amihud's lambda. But the real game changer, the absolute breakthrough, was in the third generation, with models built to directly measure the probability that informed traders are active in the market. And that is where our phantom signal has been hiding.
So this is it. This is the moment of truth in our investigation. It's time to finally pull back the curtain and put a name to that spiky red line that started this whole thing. It is time to unmask the VPIN signal. VPN. It stands for Volume Synchronized Probability of Informed Trading. The genius behind it is its simplicity. It says, forget the clock. Time is arbitrary. Let's look at what really matters, volume. So it carves up the trading day into these equal-sized volume buckets, and inside each bucket, it just measures the imbalance between buy volume and sell volume. That's it.
Oh, wait, I get it. So if someone knows something bad is about to happen, they're not going to sell a little bit here and there. They're going to dump everything. And that creates a massive, one-sided imbalance. VPN is basically a smoke detector for that kind of toxic order flow.
You've got it. That is the core idea. And now, let's look at this chart again, but this time with our detective goggles on. Those huge spikes in VPIN, they aren't random noise. They are the footprints of big, informed players stampeding for the exits before the rest of the market even smells the smoke. It's a direct early warning system for a coming liquidity crisis.
All right, this is amazing. So we have our bubble hunter, SADF, and we've got these microstructure clues like Kyle's lambda and, of course, VPIN. But here's the question that really matters, right? The billion-dollar question. Which one of these actually works? Which one helps you avoid losing your shirt in the real world?
The most important question of all. And to answer it, we have to run a proper showdown. And that means understanding the difference between testing something in a sterile lab versus out in the wild. In sample, or in the lab, we use a metric called MDI. It tells us what a model thought was important when it was studying old data. But the real test, out of sample, uses MDA. This measures how useful a feature is at predicting the future on data it's never ever seen before. MDA is the only test that matters. So let's start in the lab. Here are the in-sample results. And if you stopped here, you would think the case was closed. Look at how important Amihud's lambda and Kyle's lambda look. I mean, they're towering over everything else. In training, they look like the clear winners. Okay, but now, the moment of truth. Let's see what happens out of sample, in the real world. And just look at this. It's not even a contest. VPIN absolutely crushes everything else. Those other features that looked so great in the lab, they're practically flatlining.
Whoa. Okay, that is a genuine mind-blown moment. So the stuff that looks good on paper is basically useless in reality. And our phantom signal, VPIN, is the only one that actually predicts what's coming next. That's incredible.
And it gets even more dramatic. Check this out. Watch what happens as we look further into the future, at 1,000 bars and then 2,000 bars out. The importance of every single other feature just withers away to nothing. They become totally useless. But VPIN, its predictive power actually gets stronger. It is the only signal here with any real, lasting power. Okay, case closed. The evidence is overwhelming. VPIN is the real deal. So now what? How do we take all of this detective work and actually build something with it for the future? Perfect question. The mystery is solved. Now it's time to assemble the tools. Let's build the ultimate regime detection toolkit for the markets of today and beyond. So, a state-of-the-art toolkit needs 3 things. Number 1, our champion, VPIN, to spot that toxic order flow. Number 2, you still want SADF, our bubble hunter, to watch for that explosive price behavior. And number 3, you add a feature called entropy. Entropy, what does that do? Think of entropy as a measure of market chaos. A healthy market is messy, a little chaotic. You've got lots of different opinions, buyers, sellers, it's noisy. When entropy suddenly collapses, it means the market has become too quiet, too orderly. Everyone is doing the exact thing. And that is a huge red flag that the game is about to change. I see, so you're covered from all sides. VPIN sees what the insiders are doing, SADF sees when the price itself gets crazy, and entropy sees when the entire market starts acting weird and marching in lockstep.
Exactly. And this isn't just theory. The practical application is to take these 3 incredibly powerful signals, VPIN, SADF, and entropy, and feed them as features into a machine learning model. That combination gives your algorithm the richest possible view of the market and the best possible chance to warn you that a fundamental regime change is coming.
So we'll end with this question for you. We've gone on the hunt. We've unmasked the phantom signal, and we've assembled the modern toolkit. Now that you know how these tools work, with these tools, what market secrets could you uncover?